What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Whiskey, Wine, and Wills. I am your host, Michael Greenfield, and with me, as always, is your other host and my law partner, Jordan Jacob. Jordan, how are you tonight?
Doing well. How are you, Mike?
Good. Well, I'm great. I'm excited because we have our good friend joining us tonight, Ian Group. What's up, Ian? How are you tonight?
Great. With you guys. What could be bad?
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking some time out of your evening to chat with us. And hopefully Steph listens to this. Steph, thank you for allowing us to steal your husband for the evening for a little bit. We appreciate it. So Ian,
She says thank
a little
you.
background, obviously, though, between us. So Ian and I, we've known each other for a few years now. Jordan, too. My son and Ian's daughter were in a mommy and me separation class together. And then our wives became friends. So naturally, we became friends. And it sounds like maybe they'll be in the same class next school year, too. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But Ian, I just want to give you an opportunity to tell everybody a little bit about yourself, a little bit about what you do for a living, and obviously what you do on the side. Do we call it on the side still?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. First of all, thanks for having me on. And I think I can come to this conversation, which will be a fun one, from a lot of different perspectives. Number one, as Mike, as you said, I'm a dad, right? So I've got the whole family aspect of this. I've got two little kids. I started out my career as a lawyer, as a real estate lawyer. So I've got 6 years of practice under my belt. Didn't quite do the wills, trusts, and estates thing. But as part of being a real estate attorney, it's kind of in the air, at least. And then I pivoted my career about 5 years ago to go work for a tech company, still real estate focused. And I run a customer success team there. I'm very involved in the product, marketing, all that stuff. And when I'm not doing that, which I love my day job, I teach people online about personal finance. And so I somehow find time to do all this stuff, but I'm kind of a jack of all trades, an Ian of all trades.
Well, Jordan and I are both big fans of your social media page. Everybody, I know Instagram is Ian Builds Wealth.
Yep.
So make sure to check him out. So wealth of financial knowledge. So speaking of that, what led you to start the social media, sort of side night gig?
So I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always been looking to kind of do something that is business-like, but also gives me joy and inspires me. And this was a couple of years ago now. We went through the beginnings of the pandemic, the work from home, and I was home and kind of just feeling the desire to start some stuff. And I had a brief stint where I was on Fiverr helping people write resumes and cover letters and stuff because I figured maybe I can make a couple extra bucks. And then I was just online browsing Instagram as we all do, and I saw some people talking about money, concepts of debt and student debt, student loans, and these were things that I was thinking about all the time. As you guys know, going to law school is really expensive, and I had a lot of student debt after law school. So I saw people doing it, and I figured, why can't I? And I started making content around money, around personal finance, and it was just fun for me. It was just fun, and it just stuck. And I told myself I would post once a day, and I've kept doing it. I've taken a couple of days off, but that was it. And it became just something that I love doing, and I've been able to, in some cases, monetize that. But I don't do it just because of that. For me, it's fun. I have a passion behind it.
That's great. That's exciting. And I mean, I'm a big fan. Like I said, my wife and I use the Ian Builds Wealth budgeting sheet every month.
There you go. Great.
Well, I'd like to say every month, but we do use it as much as we can. But it's definitely helped us track everything, especially starting the new law firm and being a self-employed person for the first time. It's been very helpful for us. So thank you again for sending me that and showing me how to use it.
My pleasure.
Another thing we like to talk about, we've asked most of our other guests, and I want to ask you too, is when it comes to your daytime job, your side gig, and also being a dad, which is most important, how have you found the time to find that work-life balance, to balance those three hats? And
it's tough to find a balance. I think we're all in our mid-late 30s, maybe early 40s. I don't know.
Mid-30s.
Okay, exactly. So I think we're all in this stage in our life where we've got a lot going on, and I don't foresee that ever really simmering down. And so I think I just do my best to kind of make it all work. But it's hard. It's definitely hard. And there I used to be the kind of person that wanted to say yes to everything. Um, going the guys' weekend away, going out for drinks or whatever. And I think as I've gotten a little bit older and maybe a little bit wiser in some respects, I've just tried to prioritize my life based on the things that I think give me joy and will make me feel good. Because being tired, uh, not eating well, not exercising, like those don't make me. It doesn't make me feel good, right? So
Sure.
if I can um, use that as my North Star, like, am I going to feel happy that I did this, or am I going to feel inspired or joy or just like good about myself? Then it's probably something in line with what I should be doing.
That's a great life lesson right there. So I feel like Jordan, maybe a segue into the next part of what we do here on this podcast.
Yeah. So one of the other questions
And
that we ask our clients is talking about leaving behind a legacy. We don't necessarily want to spend the whole time talking about educating on wills and trusts and typical estate planning. We really want to just get to know our guests a little bit more and allow you to educate our listeners. And one of the important things that we like to talk about is building a legacy. I think part of that is the lessons that you've learned in your life from elder generations and what you're passing on to your kids. So, is there anything specific, like one lesson that something that somebody passed on to you that you take into your everyday life? And then is there is that same lesson, or is there something else that you're then passing on to your kids?
It's a good question. I wish you guys gave me these questions ahead of time.
No, man, we
Can I
want you
take a
to.
sip? Can I take a sip of
want it to be
whiskey
natural.
before?
Yeah, actually,
Can I take a sip of whiskey? Should we-
We'll do a whiskey break. So tonight's
Okay,
episode's brought
yeah.
to us by Michter's Small Batch Bourbon. So drink responsibly.
cheers, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
I'll edit that back into the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, I totally missed that. Sorry.
All good.
Okay, all right. Legacy. So I think one lesson that I definitely want to impart on my kids. There's so many, and I'm the kind of dad that's like always trying to like impart the lesson and like lecture my kids, so they get a lot of that. But I think one of the most important things that served me growing up is surrounding myself with good people. My dad has always said, my parents have both said that, surround yourself with good people. And whether that's friends in business, relationships, whatever it is, it's I kind of can like check in with my gut now and say like, are these people like good people at heart? Is this a good person? And I I was reading something earlier about one of the largest studies ever on happiness that was through Harvard University, and one of the things pointed to that happiness is very much driven by our relationships in life, and the more the deeper our relationships, the stronger our relationships are, the happier we are long term. So I think if you're surrounding yourself with good people, you're going to have good relationships. So that's something I definitely want to leave behind for my kids. And I've always been very social, right? Like Mike knows, I had a bunch of guys come over to my house a couple weeks ago, and I grew up with two brothers, and we had a loud family growing up. So I love the action, the noise, people around, and uh, yeah. I mean, I love my friends, and I think that's a really important part of life. You have your family. Family to me is number one, but it's friends and the relationships you have that are super important.
I think that's great, and I definitely resonate with that. But I come from a small family, so I keep I value my friendships, those relationships with my friends. I treat my friends like family. But
Yeah.
I love the um, surround yourself with good people. That's the title to this episode. And I do that every
There it
time
is.
There you go.
we ask
Love it.
I will.
clients the questions. I get the title to the episode from an answer that somebody says, and I think that's going to be a perfect title for this episode.
It's great.
Yeah.
So I will add to that in terms of a legacy. There's definitely a financial component to the legacy I want to leave behind for my kids. One of which I've started on, already. I have a college savings plan and a brokerage account for my kids, and we're all in Florida, so I've started the Florida prepaid accounts, and my kids got, I think that, like, my father-in-law gave them $100 bill each on Passover. It's very generous. I think they found the afikoman, and um, I took the $100 bill. Like, they were happy they got it, but I took it, I put it in my wallet, I transferred $100 from my account into their brokerage, and I invested it. Like, they could buy toys with it. I could have taken them to the Lego store, but I'm gonna take them to the Lego store anyway.
Yeah.
My goal is to invest as much as I can for them without it being a burden on me, without it disrupting, me covering my expenses and paying for schools and everything like that. But if I can leave them a legacy that is financial as well, without debt, and one that is put together properly through proper estate planning. I'm not just saying that because that's what you guys do, but just as a lawyer, I know the importance of that and how down the road it can tear families apart. Money is a weird thing, and so that's something that I always have on the brain as well, which is just the financial piece and making sure that, like, things are covered. I mean, it's why when my son was born, I got insurance right away. I got a term policy. That's something that I think a lot of people overlook because they think lawyers, wills, insurance. I don't need that. I'm young, I'm healthy, but, like, God forbid something happens and there's nothing there. It's just, then what?
Of course, a lot of what you just said resonates with us. Of course, the estate planning side of it, but I also want to touch on what you're doing for the kids in terms of investing and everything like that. We're doing the same thing for Mason, and when baby two comes, we'll continue doing that. And like my dad too, my dad did the same thing for me. You took that $100 bill. My dad was a little more intense. He took all my bar mitzvah money, which at the time at 13 sucked when all my friends were getting beepers and stereos. But now I have this stock account with couple great stocks in it that there's and I never touched it, never did anything, and there's a good amount of money in there. Now I thank my dad for it. So
of course,
maybe they may not have loved you taking that $100 bill on Passover this year, but they'll appreciate it in the future for sure.
They are light years ahead of where I was at their age, and I forgot about the bar mitzvah stuff. Yeah, can't wait for that. That money's going right into
gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
I'll tell you, inflation's crazy. Get $100 for the afikoman. I was getting like $5, 20 maybe in a good year.
I don't know how. I don't know why they got that much. I think it was like it was a lot, but they were like, "Look at what we got." Okay.
And I think it's important too for the kids to set them up that way financially. And not everybody can do that, and not everybody's as fortunate to be able to have the diversity of accounts and options for their children. But what's one thing that maybe anybody can do? What's the most simple, in your opinion? What's the most simple investment that a parent can make if they wanted to put some money aside, whether it be $5 a month, whether it be $100 a month? What do you think the best option is for any parent to just get started putting some money aside for their kids?
Great question.
Well, I'll back up a second because I think the best investment parents can make for their kids is to provide as stable a home as possible. And I'm not talking about like the relationship, emotion, like that stuff. I'm just talking from a financial perspective. So as a parent, if you are someone that isn't so great with money, how can you be better, or how can you learn more about the way money works? And I'm talking about the basics of money, like budgeting, tracking your expenses, right? Like if things aren't stable at home, I think that definitely has an impact on the kids down the road. So how might you work that in and invest your time in learning that stuff? Because then that's going to put you in a position to just have more control over your money, over your life. It's going to make you feel better about money, which tends to be very taboo for a lot of people and causes a lot of stress. So that's a very worthwhile investment right there.
That's great.
If you've got all that under control and you want to invest for your kids, from the first thing that I ever focused on was education. And there's no cost to opening up a 529 savings plan. You can go online and type in your state and just open up one of those accounts, and you can invest as much as you want in there. I mean, if there's a minimum, it's got to be pretty small, but $50, $100, can you save that up over time and put that in? That money grows tax free, right? And when you use it for qualified educational expenses down the road and you sell it, there's no taxes on it. So it's a really big benefit. Now, some people might say, I don't know if my kids are going to go to college or go to school. That's okay. I mean, there's a broad range of what you can use that money for in terms of qualified educational expenses. So maybe they go to a trade school or something like that. You could still use it. So I would say that's one thing that I've always wanted to prioritize, which is education.
Yeah.
That's great advice. And you did mention anybody starting out that wants to learn, that's struggling. I know a great place to start. It's at Ian Builds Wealth on Instagram. I'm serious. I mean, it's funny, but it is, I mean, I've learned a lot from you already, and I don't
Sure.
consider myself to be like a beginner when it comes to finance. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, there's a lot of
A free
garbage on
plug for you, but also
Thank
a
you.
lot of garbage
It's-
on
it's
social
good stuff.
media, you know, but I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of really great people such as yourself, Ian, who are truly educating people and trying to help. I mean, that's at the end of the day, if they take your advice, you know, you can't do anything about that, but at least you can put it out there. And that's something
Right.
we're trying to do too. You know, Michael and I both have a passion for what we do. I love what I do. I know Michael does too. Makes it easier to get up in the morning and start working. But a big thing for us is educating people as well, and that's why we like having people like you on with us, so that we can just it's educate them on different things. So I love what you offered. That's great. And so I had another
Thanks.
question, Ian, for you as well. You know, when the last few guests that we've brought on, you know, we talk about successes and how'd you get to where you are. One thing that I wanted to ask you though, as well, is has there been any struggle in your life that you've had to overcome to get to where you are, and how did you overcome that?
Definitely. I'm thinking of which, what stories to tell.
I mean, we all have them.
uh,
You know, you don't get
yeah.
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
don't
Everybody
I
does.
succeed
think
without struggle.
I think the Ian Builds Wealth origin story re- uh, revolves around student debt. I mean, like you guys that went to law school, came out with a lot of student loans, and it was around $190,000 of student loans. I think I had $20,000 in credit card debt, but um, around that, within that story, I did something really stupid, which I think people should really, really learn from. And that is, with my loans, I had my first job out of law school. I was doing a clerkship. I was making like $52,000 a year. And I was living at home. I don't know why I did not choose to prioritize and figure out how to pay off my loans, but I was just like, you know what? I'm making some money. I want to spend and do stuff, and I really like want to see if I can hold off on paying my student loans. So I called up my loan servicer and I asked them what my options are. Um, could I do income-based repayment to lower my payments? How do I do this? And they said, well, you could do all these things, but you can also do what's called a forbearance, which means you could stop paying your loans for a little
I know where
bit.
the stories go.
Interest is still going to accrue, but
Yeah.
yeah, but you won't have to pay your loans back for a little. So I was like, great, this is awesome. Let me sign up for it. So took 2 seconds, done. Your loans are paused until this date. Um, Several months later, however long it was, come back again, loan payments start up. Hey, can I do that thing again? Yeah, sure. Okay, great. I forget the number of months, but now it's down the road. I actually, at around that time, was focusing on paying off my credit card debt. Um, because credit card debt sucks. It's like 15 or 17%. But then I look at my student loan balance, and my balance is now like $210,000 amongst all of my different loans. I had I think I had 7 or 8, no, I had 12 student loans. So the balances grew, and I was like, what the hell is this? Well, when you take a forbearance on your loans, the interest gets recapitalized back into the principal balance. So my loans had grew by like $20,000. And I felt just like sick, like nauseous. I was like, what have I done? This is so bad. And I was really in a bad position because the interest that was accruing was more than I was paying in every month. So my loan balance was just growing. And I needed to figure out how to stop that. And I was searching for a really long time for student loan refis, but no one was offering it. This was before SoFi even came out. And then eventually this bank in Connecticut, what's their name? Darien Rowayton Bank. Now they're known as Laurel Road, but they were like the first ones to start a student loan refi. And that was huge because it allowed me to consolidate everything at a lower rate. I think I went from like an average of 7 or 8% down to like it was maybe like 1 or 2 points below that. And I finally was able to start making payments that were based on an amortization schedule that could like actually hit principal and interest. So I finally was starting to see the balance go down. But that was a painful lesson, and it still irks me that I like to think I'm a pretty smart guy. Got through law school. I was a business major in college, and yet I still took the short term pleasure and had to deal with that long term pain, and that still sucks to this day.
I knew it when, as soon as you said forbearance, I knew where the story was going because I tried the same thing, and suffered the same consequence. So, yeah, that is a tough lesson to learn, and definitely one that I'm glad you actually said that, because I think a lot of people, but it's tough, when you come out of law school and you don't get a job at one of these big firms, making 6 figures year one. It's very tough to start making those payments. You're in the real world now, and yeah, it's hard.
There's a lot of real life application stuff they don't teach you in law school, which I think is a big miss. I also think law school should be 2 years, not 3 years. But I don't this is not a let's make law school better podcast. So we don't have to go down that path.
We could definitely make a podcast about that. I feel like there's enough content with lawyers that we can get on here to complain about law
several
school.
episode podcast. Yep.
Having started my own law firm and with Michael and running a law firm, we had a class, how to run a small law firm, which I think gave me a good,
Really?
from what I did remember from it, gave me a good base. But had I not had a business degree and, coming out of undergrad, it would have been, it's very hard to run your own law firm out of law school. There were some kids in my class that year one, they were out on their own. And I was just like, how do you even know what to do?
I never understood how to do that. Yeah.
No, I'm an immersive learner. So I need to be involved in it first before I can just start doing something. But I learned very quickly, that I don't want to work for anybody else. I very much like the autonomy of working for myself. But yeah. So Mike, any other questions we have for Ian?
I guess one more thing I did want to ask you. I mean, obviously we can edit. I always like to talk a little bit about giving back with our guests, and when it's just Jordan and I too. And so one of my favorite videos that you posted was back during holiday time when you took your kids to the Lego store and you purchased toys, not for them, but to donate and give back. Can you tell us a little bit more where you got that idea, how the kids reacted, what the lesson was?
It was around the holidays. So first of all, community service and giving back has always been really important in my life. And when I was in high school, there was a soup kitchen, and I would go every single week with our community service. There was like a head of community service at my school, and there was actually a requirement. I forget the number of hours, but you had to do hours every year in order to graduate and like go up to the next class. And I loved this woman. She was great, Miss Mosley. Like I will never forget her. And every week we would go to the soup kitchen. Before this, we would like make sandwiches and prepare stuff. So like I just loved that. And then in college, I actually got a partial scholarship in college because of that work that I did. And the first thing I did when I got to college was get a job, and I got a job in the community service office. So I helped organize blood drives and park sponsorships and all these different partnerships with like student groups in the community. And that was always a big part of college. I mean, there were so many examples of things. I was actually president of my fraternity, and I had a lot of contacts in the local with like the mayor and the parks people, because I like did all these partnerships and stuff. And then in law school, I think I lost that a little bit. Just there wasn't, I might have done some tutoring, but then after law school, when I was practicing, I represented kids in immigration cases, and I was actually named kids in need of defense. I was their 2020 pro bono attorney of the year. I was one of them. I think they named a few. Cool. So like giving back has always been something important to me. And I don't know where specifically I got the idea from, but it was around the holidays. And I just thought like, hey, how can I teach my kids a lesson as a dad? Well, let's do this. Let's like go somewhere that they love going. My son specifically, Logan, loves the Lego store. Every time we can't even pass it in the mall without him like wanting to go in. And I know that's like, $50, $100 out of my pocket. But I was like, how could we go somewhere that they love and teach them to do something that's selfless, like buy the thing that they love and then give it away. And I wanted to like instill that lesson. So that's what we did. And I figured it was also probably some good content, but it wasn't motivated for the content. It was just the content was derivative of that.
Sure. Yeah, we did.
I loved it.
We did something similar past 2 years. I think we've done it now with our girls, where we at both at their schools, there was a shoebox toy drive, and we would fill up the the shoebox with toys and send it off, and there'd be a tracker on it, and you could see what family got it. And this year at their school, one of the girls that got a shoebox 10, 15 years ago came to talk to all the kids about how that changed her family's life when they got that shoebox. And all these parents were there like during this presentation. Everyone's like tearing up and just hearing how important it is, because from our side, giving, right, it's for us, it's it means a lot to us to be able to give back and to teach our kids that. But we don't, I never got to experience, I was never the recipient of donations like that, and fortunate to not need it. But to see it from somebody whose family needed it during Christmas time, it makes me want to do it every year, as long as I can possibly do it. Seeing what an impact it is, I think it's incredible. And Mike shared the video with me that you did it, and I was like, that's great. I think that's awesome. It's hard to buy. It's hard to buy.
We can collaborate on a little.
I think that'd be great.
Let's do it.
Mike and I have been talking about trying to do a holiday toy drive. I think that'd be great.
I'm in.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. There you go.
You heard it here.
Ian, thank you for your time tonight again. I think this is a great place to wrap it up. Again, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Jordan, if you want to give the whiskey shout out, please go ahead, because I know you got the bottle. So.
That's right. We'll give one last shout out to Michter's for making this delicious small batch, and Woodford, I think, is what Ian's drinking tonight. So Woodford Reserve as well. Everybody remember to drink responsibly, and yeah, this was another episode of Whiskey, Wine, and Wills. I'm Jordan Jacob.
I'm Michael Greenfield.
Have a good one.
Cheers.
Bye, everybody.
Am I supposed to?